All right, so good evening, guys. My name is Zeyu. Thank Marty for the introduction. Today, for this web seminar, we're gonna go through a quick example like how to script Yelp reviews using build-to-suit package in Python. So we'll be using Python 3. You can find the notebook we're gonna use for today's session in the syllabus, which you can find, in the Adobe Connect. So and we use Anaconda, so which is kind of like a hub for data scientists. So you can also find the link to download Anaconda. I think at the first page or first. Joyce, if you can post a link to download Anaconda on the chat, that'd be great. So I'm using Windows in my apartment. So if you already installed Anaconda, you have your own Python environment set up. That's perfect. So I would just type Anaconda prompt. So on Mac, you go to your top right and then click the search bar and then type terminal, and then you're going to see a similar kind of like prompt or terminal like this. So the next command you need to type is Jupyter Notebook. So wait for like 15 seconds to make sure everyone's on the same page. If this is first time you're using Anaconda or Jupyter Notebook. So for Windows users, search Anaconda prompt. For Mac users, you can go to the top right, search terminal, and then type the same command, Jupyter Notebook. So we'll start a web browser, and then you'll see a kind of like the structure of the file directory of your local machine. So then depending on where you downloaded the notebook file, you just need to navigate through it on this browser. So what we can do is, for example, I save my notebook on my desktop. So I go to desktop and then go to my workshop, and then I can find this kind of like notebook icon here. You just click it, and then you will see a page like this. All right, so in this webinar, we trying to go through some basics about web scraping, which was actually one of the fall projects in the data science bootcamp. Actually, I think I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Zeyu. I teach Python, machine learning, and deep learning lectures at the academy, basically in the bootcamp. So this is kind of like one of the lectures, but usually our lectures is 3 hours long in the morning from 9:30 to 12:30. So I have to cut a lot of material to fit in this workshop. So we'll basically go through a couple of things today. So what is web scraping, introduction to HTML, and also some like basic functions in build-to-suit. And then we're going to see how we can apply build-to-suit to script reviews on Yelp.com. So hopefully today you can learn something and then start your own project or have your own data science project on GitHub. And also for this workshop, I hope everyone has a sort of like understanding of those basic data structures in Python, like what is a list, what is a dictionary, because we're going to use those in today's lecture. All right, so what is web scraping? So for web scraping, it's basically trying to scrape information from HTML documents from websites. Because the thing is, like, data is expensive, especially structured data. So like a lot of companies are spending a lot of money trying to buy data from third-party company. If you can scrape from the web, because it's web, it's public, that would be saving a lot of money for a company. And also when speaking of web scraping, it's just trying to scrape HTML pages. So HTML is short for hypertext markup language. So it's a language for presenting content on the web. So plain text is turned into HTML document by so-called tags that are then interpreted by a browser. So in an HTML document, it looks like a just a regular text file, but with the help of tags, which is something we're going to talk about next, it will be interpreted by a browser, and then it's going to show it differently. So it's not a regular text file anymore. And using build-to-suit, you can either extract the tag values from the HTML source code. So basically, we want to scrape information from the page, and all those information they're encoded or coded in the HTML document. All right, so some quick introduction to HTML. So here we have a example HTML document. So most HTML documents look like this. So it's from the document type HTML, and then you have this kind of so-called tags. So these are the first new term we're going to introduce today. It's called what is a tag. So everything enclosed in these triangle brackets, they are called tag. For example, this is a HTML tag. This is a head tag. And this is a title tag. So tag, they have their own special meanings. So for example, title means the title of each tab, like the title of the page. And also like, for example, this a tag most refers to a hyperlink. Don't worry too much about like learning this new stuff in just like within 5 minutes. We're gonna see more tags when we script, different websites. So tags, everything closed in this triangle bracket. And another thing about tag is they always come in pairs. So that means you have an opening tag, you also have a closing tag. So for closing tag, it's like start from a slash symbol. So for example, this head tag is like the start head tag, and also you have the end head tag. Head tag. So two things. The name of the tag is enclosed in this triangle bracket, and also tag, they always come in pairs. So that means you have the start tag, you also have an end tag. So for end tag, it starts from a slash. And also for tag, you have values. So values are the content between the start tags and also the end tags. And also, for example, this is a title tag. So the value of this title tag is high. So usually mostly this value of the tag is something we're trying to scrape from the website. So the title is just like literally the string you see or the value or the tags you see on the website. So we're just trying to scrape the value of the tag. And another thing about tag can also have so-called attributes. For example, in this a tag, so we know this is a tag because they enclose in those triangle brackets and they come in pairs. So this is like the start a tag, and also this is the end a tag. However, we also have this so-called href equal to seems like to a URL. This is so-called attributes of this a tag. So this kind of like href is special attributes for a tag that make this kind of like a tag a hyperlink. So it's like the endpoint of this hyperlink, which points to the documentation of the Beautiful Soup package. But pay attention to the attributes. They're different from the value. So value is everything between the start tag and also the end tag. So that's, for example, for this a tag, they just hello beautiful soup. And attributes is everything enclosed in the first or the start tag. So followed by the name of the tag, you also have the attribute of the tag. So it's sort of like a Python dictionary assignment. So you have kind of like the key of the dictionary and also the value of the dictionary. So I know it's like a lot of things to digest within like 10 minutes of this webinar, especially at workday night. So 3 things about these tags of how to read a HTML document, because it looks like a normal text file, but with the help of those triangle brackets, we convert these, let's say this HTML, all the head to a tag, and then they will be interpreted by a browser. So we're gonna have their own like meaning. So we're gonna see like later on, we're gonna see, let's say, p tag. So p tag usually means paragraph. So especially when it's trying to script, let's say, reviews, review they most likely will be enclosed in a p tag. So that's the first thing about the tag. So you're gonna see a lot of tags in HTML document, and also most often we want to script the values of the tag. So values are everything between the start tag and also the end tag. So for example, the value of this title tag is just high, and So it's just like everything closed between the start tag and also the end tag. So another thing about a tag is attributes. So you have, for example, you have this a tag. We know it has a href attribute equals to this URL, and continue from what we from the previous one. So the value of this a tag equal to hello beautiful soup, which is just a tag, well, basically a string. So these two are the two different things. You have the attribute of a tag that's enclosed with the start tag. You also have the value of a tag that's everything enclosed between the start tag and the end tag. Okay, so it's sort of like introduction to HTML document, and how do we read this HTML document, because every page, every website is a a HTML document, and we're trying to script either the values of the tag or the attributes of the tag from the website. All right, some basics about Beautiful Soup, because like we mentioned, we'll use Beautiful Soup package to script information from websites. But at the end of the day, Beautiful Soup is just a HTML parser. You give it a HTML string or HTML document, then you can sort of like extract the tag or the value of the tag or the attributes of the tag easily from the HTML document. So for example here, this is the HTML document we just walked through, but we converted it to a Python string. So we use triple quotation mark to make sure it's a multiple line Python string. So here we have this Beautiful Soup package. If you haven't, if you are not using Anaconda or you have your own Python environment, make sure you have Beautiful Soup package installed before you start the Jupyter notebook. So from BS4 Beautiful Soup 4 package, import the Beautiful Soup class, and then we want to initialize a Beautiful Soup object, and the input to the first argument is just basically the raw string, HTML string. And also for the second input argument, we tell Beautiful Soup to use HTML parser to parse this HTML string. So you might be wondering, okay, so what else, or what are the other parsers available in Beautiful Soup package? Well, another popular parser is called XML. XML is very common on Linux servers. So basically, you have those settings of the Linux server, and they're sort of nested in the same way as an HTML document, but they're in XML format. So that's the other parser available. It's also very common. People sometimes use XML parser to parse XML file. So here, what we're saying is, hey, Beautiful Soup, you have this Python string, and I know it's HTML, so I will ask you to use HTML parser to parse the string for me. And then, so just quickly run the code. You just shift enter on this code chunk, and then you will see the output. So we first of all print out the type of this hi object. So we got this a Beautiful Soup. It's an instance of the Beautiful Soup class. And then we also have this prettify. The things like I mentioned, all the tags, they come in pairs. So with prettify, you're gonna see that, for example, the HTML tag, they are on the same column, and also like the title tag, they're also on the same column. So basically, just nested nicely, so you can have a clear structure of this HTML document. All right. So when we introduced the basics of HTML, we said, okay, for a tag, we have the name of the tag, we have the value of the tag, and also the attributes of the tag. So let's see how we can easily extract these three information from using Beautiful Soup package. So now we have a Beautiful Soup object called hi, and to locate a tag in this HTML document or this Beautiful Soup object, you can just call this hi.a using sort of like as an attribute of this Beautiful Soup object. And if you want the name of this tag, then just say .name. If you want the value of the tag. So because like we mentioned, value is sort of like just like a string, because they're literally the thing you're gonna see on the website. So just like any website you have the reviews, then they're also coded as the value of the tag. So the value of a tag is basically the string. And also you have the attributes of a tag. So you can either extract these three information, just like object dot attribute, then dot another attribute of this a tag. So we have the name of the tag is a, because we know it's a tag, it's hyperlink. Also have the value of the a tag is beautiful soup. So that's sort of like we already talked about the attribute of this a tag. The href attribute of this a tag is a URL. We also have the value of the a tag, which is everything between the start tag and also the end tag. That's the string or the value of this a tag. All right, so you also have the attributes. So like I mentioned, this href equal to the URL is sort of like similar to a Python dictionary. You have the key, which is equal to the name of the attribute. You also have the value, which is just like what the value is. All right, so that's kind of like some basic attributes you can use from Beautiful Soup. So then another thing about this, to get the value of the tag or the string of the tag is if a tag that has child tags, then the string attribute does not work anymore. So for example, we have this HTML tag. So if we go back here, you're gonna see, okay, so HTML tag seems to be the the parent tag, and it has multiple child tags. So if you want to just get the string or the value of the HTML tag, it won't return anything because it has multiple tags, and each tag has their own value or their own string. So when you call, let's say, hi.html from the previous 3 lines of code, we know this one should return us the HTML tag, and then the string should give us the value of this HTML tag. However, this HTML tag does have like 2 child tags called head and also the body. So it won't return anything, basically non-object in Python. In this case, you might use the getText method instead. So getText method will extract all the content of child tags. So basically, like the values of all its child tags can be returned. For example, hi is the value of the title tag, and also the hello beautiful soup is kind of like the values of the a tag. So I think you might have a question like, okay, so why don't we just always go to the, let's say, the last node the node we're interested in, and then call the string? Well, I can give you an example. For example, like when script reviews, depending on like how the developer designed this website, sometimes they might divide the reviews into different paragraphs. So for a paragraph, that's a p tag in HTML code. So if you have multiple p tags on the same level, they're just different paragraphs of the same review. Then in this case, you might just find the review tag and call it getText, because you don't want to extract each paragraph and then manually concat them. Just so annoying. So you can go to the parent tag of all the paragraph tags and then call getText. They're going to return the string as a whole, rather return review as a whole, rather than get separate paragraphs in Python list. So that's kind of like one usage of this getText versus .string. So another method of this of a beautiful soup tag is called get. So get is used to refer to extract the value attributes of a tag. So for example, here we have this height.a should give us this a tag, and then we know this a tag has value equal to hello beautiful soup, but also at the same time it has href attribute. which is the URL of the Beautiful Soup documentation. So if we want to, instead of like get the value of the tag, we might sometimes be interested in the value of the attribute, because it really depends on like where is this information stored. Sometimes it's a value, it's a string, but sometimes it's the let's say an attribute of of a tag. So here we say hi.a.href. That one will return the URL, and also if we just call hi.a.attributes, that's kind of like return a Python dictionary. So you can easily verify it. So you can print out the type of the output. So that's basically Python dictionary. So you can, if you're familiar with the dictionary data structure in Python, so this get is kind of just a wrapper around the get method of a Python dictionary. So you have hi.a, the attributes gives you a Python dictionary, and then you call dictionary.get href and return the value of this key. If the key does not exist, then we'll return a non-object. So it depending on like where is the information you're trying to script is stored, because sometimes it might be the value of the tag, sometimes it might be the value of a attribute. All right, so the last two functions I'm going to introduce is find and also find all. So here we have another sort of like a little bit complicated example. So we have another HTML string. We have the head tag and also the body tag. But this time we have so-called h1, h2, h3 tag. So these h tag sort of like so-called headers. So basically the header of the page. So from header 1 to header 6, from the biggest to the smallest. So for example here, if you read Markdown, know Markdown a little bit, so we know this is like header 3 because we have 3 pound sign here. So we can see if we change it to 1 pound sign, that's just header 1, just much bigger. That's what h1 tag mean. And also you have this p tag nested within this h1 tag. You actually have multiple p tags in this HTML document, which is going to be very common in a real life website, because this example and also the dummy example we use here, they're kind of like the simple website. We just made it up manually, but the real website in the script is much more complicated than this, and it's very hard to see a clear structure of this. But with the help of this find and also find all function, you can easily locate the tag that you're interested in. All right, so similar stuff. We have we convert this article HTML to a Beautiful Soup object called article, and we tell Beautiful Soup to use HTML parser to parse this string. So here we have, let's say, multiple p tags in this case. Then if we just say article.p, I think everyone will expect this, because there are like multiple p tags in this HTML document. Then it's probably going to only return the first one. So that's the same thing as by calling this find function, find method. So article.findp will only return the first p tag, which is a paragraph. So let's say if you want to extract all the p tags, then you should call this find all method. So it's similar to find, but I think its name is quite self-explanatory. Instead of find only the first, let's say, p tag, I want find all the p tags. So now surprisingly, the output is a Python list of all the p tags, all the paragraphs. So then if you want, let's say, the second paragraph or second p tag, then you can just use a list subscript. You want the second one index, in Python index start from 0, so you can just use square bracket 1 to extract the second p tag. Then you might be thinking about, okay, so seems like find all is much more powerful than find, then I should always use find all rather than find. Well, it's not always the case, because take a look at the output of this find all method. It's a Python list, so that means you do need to subscript from a Python list if you only need one of them. However, if you already know that this tag is unique, or there's only like one kind of like that tag, then you should just call find rather than find all, because you do need an extra step to extract the actual tag from the Python list. And the last kind of like argument to this find all function is I think it's the most important one, because sometimes there might be multiple p tags or multiple a tags on the website. So you do need somehow kind of need a criteria to locate the tag you're interested in. That's why in this find all method you have another argument called attribute. So if you don't know how to get this, you move your cursor inside this find all method and then press Shift Enter. Then the first argument is called name equal to none. By default, it's none, but so it's basically you need to tell Visual Soup what's the name of the tag. So for example, we want to locate a h1 tag, and then we have this attributes argument. So attributes is corresponding to the attributes of the tag. So for example, we have, this is our HTML document. So for this h1 tag, we have a ID attribute equal to 1. So if let's say I have millions of h1 tags on this HTML document, but I only want the h1 tag that has ID attribute equal to 1, then I can specify that in my attributes argument. So the value of this attributes argument is like Python dictionary. So so it's basically like the key of this dictionary is the value of the name of your attribute, and also the value of this dictionary will be equal to the value of the attribute of the tag. So for example, here I'm telling Visual Soup, hey, find all the h1 tag that has ID attribute equal to 1, and the output, so there's only one tag that matches this criteria, but it will also return a Python list, because here we're calling find all rather than find. All right, so I think by far we kind of like go through some basics or fundamentals of this webinar. I know it's taking a little bit longer than expected, but still, like, I want to pause for like maybe 1 minute or 1 minute 30 seconds just to make sure we answered questions before we dig into the the Yelp example.
I think there was a question on the triple quotes. Why you use triple quotes there to show the string, and what that
got it. So this triple quote is just like a Pythonic way to put multiple lines of string in just like one Python string. Because if you only use one single quote or one double quote, then it has to be one line unless you have the backslash at the end of the string as a line breaker. But with triple string, you don't need the backslash as the line breaker inside the string. So that's the difference. All right, so I think everyone would be more interested in script a real website rather than script a dummy HTML document like this. All right, so let's try to script reviews on Yelp, and for today we're trying to script reviews of this website on Yelp. I believe it's called ABC Kitchen. So I think it's like the first restaurant in NYC in alphabetical order. So you can either expand this to all the restaurants, whether it's New York City or in other cities. So, well, in the previous example, we already show you guys, what the HTML code looks like. But then you might be thinking about, okay, so where do I find the HTML code of this page? So I hope everyone is using Chrome, but if not, it takes like 20 seconds to download and install Chrome. But if you're using other browser, I think it's also fine. The command is, quite similar. So you can click anywhere on this page. Right click anywhere on this page, and then you're gonna see this inspect. So you right click anywhere on this page, and then you're gonna see the inspect button. So click it. Then I think most likely you're gonna find this kind of like panel on the right. If not, if it's in bottom, then you can click the 3 dots here, and then you can change the dock side. If it's at the bottom, it's very hard to see what's going on there. So you might so here you just move it to the right hand side. All right. So now we see the HTML code of this page, and not surprisingly, it's much complicated than the example we just saw. So let's say here on this page, we are mostly interested in script the reviews. So how do I find the tag of the reviews here? So there's another trick you can use on this kind of like developer tool panel. If you can see this, this little mouse on the top left of this panel. So you move the cursor to the top left of the right hand side panel, and you're going to see this little mouse on the top left. And then you move your cursor back to sort of like to the main website, and then you're gonna see on the left hand side it's gonna highlight different chunks, different parts of the page, and also on the right hand side you're gonna see kind of like the corresponding tag in the HTML code, and then you single click, then it's gonna highlight the actual tag that representing the let's say review on the left hand side. So one more time, let me close this. You right click anywhere on this page, then click inspect, and then you click this little mouse on top left, trying to highlight the part that you're interested in. So for example here, I'm interested in script the reviews, so I try to highlight reviews and single click, left click, and then you're gonna see, let's say on the right hand side, this li tag is got highlighted. So li is basically for a list tag. So you have different points listed here. Each li tag is representing a review. So if you expand this, or if you move the cursor, move your mouse on the different li tag, for example, I trying to highlight the second review, then you can see that the third li tag actually highlight the second review here. The reason is the first li tag, you can see here, if you just click it or highlight it, you can see on the left hand side, it's the placeholder that left for you to leave the review, but so that one is not does not count as a review tag. So now we know all these li tags all further this div tag with class attribute equal to review with sidebar. So this div tag or this li tag is what we're looking for. All right, we sort of get a general idea like what we're trying to script. So but that's just we demonstrate on Chrome browser, but how do I get the HTML code from in Python basically, because we want to use Beautiful Soup to script, and we have to feed the raw text or raw HTML string to our Beautiful Soup package. So here we're going to use the request package in Python. So it's kind of a industry standard way to kind of testing different APIs, running, web scraping, getting different response in Python. So here we're calling the get function from the request package, and then the URL we're feeding here is just the URL of the first page, so the URL of the restaurant. And then once we get a response, so basically this request.get does is make a request to the Yelp server. It's similar as you copy this URL, then you hit enter on a browser. So when you go to this page, you actually made a request to that URL. So that's just to mimic the same thing. So once you made a request, you will get a response, and the HTML code is included in the text attribute of the response object. So this one is going to be an HTML document or basically a Python string like this one. So then we basically call same code, convert that Python string to a Bootstrap object, and we know this is an HTML document, so we can use the HTML parser. So that's exactly what we did here. So we have the text, we have we got the text of the from the response. We use HTML parser to parse the text and make it a Bootstrap object. So then we have the HTML code of the first page. However, if you scroll down to the bottom, it only displays like maybe 20 or 15 reviews on the first page. Then you do have to, let's say, go to the next page to extract the next 15 or maybe 20 reviews. So another important thing about web scraping is find the pattern of the URL. So for example here, this is the URL of the second page. So usually what I would do is have a text editor, and then just trying to see if I can find a pattern of the different pages of the your reviews of the URL. So this is like the URL of the second page. So let's quickly let's go down to the bottom, go to the next page, and then this is the URL of the third page. And then I'll do it one more time. I believe everyone is going to see the pattern. So here we have the pattern. So these are the three URLs of, let's say, the second page, third page, and the fourth page. So I think you can already see a pattern there. You have start. This is like the beginning URL, and then if you want to go to the second page, that's just appending this question mark, and also start equal to 20 at the end of the URL. And also, like, if you want to go to the third page, so start equal to 40. So I think you already expect that, there should be like 20 reviews on each page. So if you go to the next page, you will see like, 20 more reviews, start equal to 20, 40, 60, 80. So this kind of like the pattern of the URL here. All right, so now the question becomes, okay, so how do I know what is the URL of the last page? Well, actually, on the first page, you can see, for each restaurant, you have the total number of reviews. So if I can somehow get this number from the raw string, then, we can call it a day, because this is like, okay, like total number of reviews, and then we divide it by 20, and then we have the total number of pages, and then we know the pattern of our URL. Then we can just multiply that number by, let's say, by 20, and that's going to be the URL of the last page. All right. So now our job is, okay, so first thing first, find the total number of reviews so we can decide the URL of the last page. So again, use the same trick, click this little mouse on top left, and then try to highlight this number of reviews part on this page, and you single click it, and then on the right hand side you're going to see this span tag got highlighted. So one more time, if you're on this page, click this, little mouse on top left of the panel, then highlight this, total number of reviews, say 2,754 reviews. You single click it, then on the right hand side, you're gonna see this span tag got highlighted. So for this span tag, how do we locate it? We have span tag that has class attribute equal to review-count, review-qualifier, and also the value of this span tag is what we're looking for, but not quite yet because we only want the number, but not the whole string. Well, let's start from, let's say, how we can specify a criteria to locate this span tag. So for example, here we know this span tag has a class attribute equal to this. So if you don't want to copy it or type it up, if you don't want to type it up, you just double click on the attributes of the tag, and then it's going to highlight the value of the attribute. So then you just copy and paste it. So here you have a class attribute equal to this. Then in our code, you can see, so our text is the Visual Soup object. So what you find, because I hope there's only one span like this. So what you find, or at least the first span like this. So the span tag that has class attribute equal to review-count, review-qualifier, and we want the string of it. However, the thing is, if you just print out the string or the value of it, that's a Python string which include a number and also reviews. So here we're going to use a trick in Python which we call regular expression. So you pass a regex pattern to this, let's say the find all function is different from the find all function from Visual Soup. This is the find all function from regex. So this \d representing decimal. So like \d means like any decimal any number, and then plus means multiple numbers. So you can have you just want the number from a raw string. So it's like how you extract numbers from a Python string using regex. So with the help of regular expression, we can just find the number of the string, and also don't forget to convert your string to an integer, because everything you script from the website, they're in Python string. So you have to convert to an integer if you want to use, let's say, furthermore in this range function. So now this number of reviews is an integer, and then you can call this for I in range of 0 to number of reviews, and we use 20 as the step size because we know what our pattern is. Every time you just increment the number by 20. Then we append the new URL to our URL list, and then eventually we print out the first 10 URLs. So you can see every time it's incremented by 20. All right, so now we already know, okay, so what are the URLs, and then we are ready to script our reviews. So maybe we just focus on the first review, first page, and then hopefully it's going to apply to all the pages. And then let's see here. I think we already know this. This is the li tag with div attribute div tag that has class attribute equal to review dash with sidebar, and we can use this class attribute to locate all the reviews on the same page. So here we're calling text.findAll because we know there are 20 reviews on each page, so we have to use find all rather than find. And then we want to find all the div tag that have class attribute equal to this one. This is the criteria we use to locate all the review div tags. Then we print out the length of the reviews. So because we're calling find all, the output is a Python list. So we can print out the length of a Python list, and that is equal to 20. So that kind of prove that there are like 20 reviews on each page. And then we want to script the, let's say, detailed information of each review. So we just use maybe one of them for testing. So if it works for the first review, then ideally it should work for all the other reviews. So I don't think we have time to go through every single one of them, but let's say let's start from this username example here. So we just pick the first review from our Python list. So this is review 0. So just pick the first review div tag, and then we want to find the username of basically who left this review. So now we know this div tag highlights the whole review, and we're pretty sure the username is like kind of nested within this div tag, because this div tag highlights the whole thing, and the username is only part of it. All right, so again, use the same trick. Click this little mouse on top left, and then click on, try to highlight this, username, and then single click. Then on the left-hand side, you're gonna see this, li tag that has class attribute equal to user-name, and also followed by another a tag that has class attribute equal to this one. And for this a tag, the value of the a tag is sort of like the name of the user. So which makes sense because most often this should be a hyperlink to the user profile. So like we talk about a tag usually means hyperlink. So it's an a tag that has class attribute equal to this one, and the value of the a tag is what we want to script, which is the name of the user. So to locate this a tag, we're using this class attribute. So again, if you don't want to type it up, you just double click on the value of the attribute, and then you copy and paste. So go back to our code. So this review now refers to the div tag, and starting from that div tag, so it's different from the previous one. So when you locate all the review tag, it's text.findAll, but here we're using review.find because we already find all the review tags. We don't need to always start from the root node, which is the HTML, root tag, which is the HTML tag. We can just start directly from the review tag because we already know the thing we were trying to script is located within that review tag. So we find the a tag that has class attribute equal to this one, and so it's similarly that same thing. You can copy it from the right hand side, and then the value of the string of this a tag is what we're looking for. So you have the the username here. It looks different from this page because I think I'm on the third page or the fourth page, but this is like still on the first page. So you can follow the same workflow to extract location, rating, because we do want to see if it's like a 5-star review versus a 1-star review, like what are people talking about. Further apply natural processing to it, something we'll cover in the bootcamp. So kind of like can build a web screen project. Your target audience could be the restaurant owner, and let's say what are people complaining about. You can get it from, let's say, simple word cloud, or you can run some sentiment analysis on that. And like see if that, because we can also script the date of the review. Let's say if my restaurant is getting bad reviews from, let's say, 2018, or like why did we perform badly in 2017? So these are kind of like data science questions you could answer using the data you script, and also like further apply other techniques you will learn in the bootcamp. All right, so definitely the thing you care about the most is the content of each review. So like what are people actually talking about in this review? So it's sort of like everything you need for one single review. Then what you can do is just like write a function to wrap up what you just did, and then save it to a local CSV file. So here we have a for loop through all the reviews, because the previous one we only tested on the first review, but now we're ready to apply it to different reviews. So here we're using a Python dictionary to save one review because each of keys. You can think about this dictionary. Each dictionary is representing a review, and each dictionary could be one row of the CSV file. So think about it. If you eventually want to save a let's say this review data into a CSV file or just a spreadsheet, you can think about like the keys of the dictionary will be the name of the columns of the spreadsheet. And so with that said, each review should have the exact same column. And then, these code are just directly copied from the previous step because, if it worked for one review, the other reviews should have the same structure. Then once we scrape all the values, all the, information we want, we can assign the value to our dictionary within the for loop because, we have to initialize a new dictionary for another review. And also at the end of for loop, we just write the values of the dictionary into a local CSV file. So if you simply run this, take like, maybe less than 1 second. And then if you go back to, say, where you start this, notebook, you will see this reviews CSV file. So if you are a Windows machine, you might see this kind of weird thing because there's kind of an empty line here. This kind of like a bug on Windows machine. I'm going to tell you how to fix that. So another thing about Excel is like you always need to expand the columns. So here we have the username, the location, when they left the review, the rating, and also the content of the review in nicely format in your Excel. All right. So one thing you do is when you open this CSV file, you have this new for Windows users because we do see that empty line within between two rows. So you can set this new line instead of equal to none, you can make it equal to an empty string. For example, like new line equal to an empty string. So instead of using a new line breaker, you can just like use an empty string because you don't need another line breaker. This is because on Windows Windows is using \r/n as a new line breaker. So it's like some kind of a carry return. I forgot the name, but on Mac it's just \n. So that's why it's going to be interpreted, as a new line, another empty line between two lines. So and also for Windows users, you have to set up encoding equal to UTF-8 because otherwise it will be using the text mode. Then you'll get some encoding error, like especially when trying to script reviews or text in another language. Then just when you don't know how to figure it out, I don't recognize that symbol because it's not in my encoding dictionary. All right, so this only apply to the first page, so you'll only probably see like 20 reviews in your CSV file. But we can simply wrap up the previous code chunk in another function called scrape single review, and then have another for loop iterate through all the URL list because we want to scrape. If we want to scrape all the reviews, then we need to go through every single URL in that list, and then eventually inside the for loop we're gonna scrape call the scrape single review single page function, and then save that 20 reviews to our local CSV file. All right, so that's basically it. Hopefully you learned something in this like 45 minutes or 50 minutes workshop. I know it's like really short because I have a lot in real lecture it's like 3 hours long. I have more examples to show, like more hands-on sessions, but due to time constraint I have to cut off a bunch of like materials from the notebook. But yeah, I think we record the session, and feel free to let us know if you have any questions.
Popular question, Zeyu, is basically what to do in a scenario where the site uses JavaScript. So as you know, like in that scenario, you have to scroll down, you may have to mouse click instead to get the next page. So they just kind of like, folks are curious about maybe like a quick 30-second maybe answer.
Sure. So to infinite scrolling page, that's a good question. So the thing is, so now most modern websites, they're now static. So like for Reddit or Yelp, they're kind of a static website. Basically means the content doesn't change that much. But I think like say for trying to scrape Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, this kind of infinite scrolling kind of websites, I don't think Beautiful Soup can handle it because it's basically a kind of like a HTML parser. So for those kind of websites, because it's infinite scrolling, the website is not static, dynamic. So you have to keep fetching new data from the that one. I don't think Beautiful Soup can handle it. We actually have multiple sessions in our bootcamp. We'll talk about Scrapy and also we'll talk about Selenium. So Selenium, let me type it in the chat. So in case you want to use this to scrape any dynamic website. So Selenium is actually it's very straightforward because you will see a web browser. You're controlling a web browser, maybe a Chrome browser. You're gonna navigate through different pages, use Python code, so that it's just something that Beautiful Soup cannot handle. But we have other tools you can use to scrape those dynamic websites. Can we use this function in Google search bar? Do something. I'm not sure what you mean by Google search bar. Like you're trying to scrape Google, because Google itself is already a spider. So not quite sure. What does that mean?
I think they meant that, like, for example, if you type something in google.com, right? You type it into the search bar and it goes into a page then, and then scrapes from there, like scrape that result from there. I think you can, but it's actually more of a hassle than I.
Oh yeah, I think I got it. So the things this kind of search or filling is called filling a form on the web. So I think Beautiful Soup and also Selenium, most scraping package, they can send in a form. Like basically you just need to fill in different parts of this form, and then then can generate that query and then get your response HTML code. In general, I think most packages can do it.
Oh, I actually didn't know that part. On my end, even I thought that it was going to be a little tricky because I know Google.com.
It is tricky, but I think even Beautiful Soup can handle this. Like fill in the form and then submit the query, generate the query, and then you can scrape the response HTML document.